The transport ship docked at Station Meridian just after dawn cycle. Lisa Bennett stepped off first, her diplomatic uniform crisp and perfect. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who had negotiated treaties across 3 sectors. Behind her, holding a stuffed bear that had seen better days, came her daughter Sophie. The girl's eyes were wide as she took in the massive station hub. Jake Morrison watched them approach from his position near the security checkpoint. He had been doing this job for 2 years now, ever since he needed something to fill the empty hours. Guard duty was simple. Keep the client safe, keep your mouth shut, collect your pay. He did not expect much from this assignment. Just another diplomat who would treat him like furniture. Lisa's sharp eyes found him immediately. She walked over with purposeful strides. "You're my security detail?" she asked. Her tone suggested disappointment. Jake stood up from where he had been leaning against the wall. "Jake Morrison, ma'am. I'll be keeping you and your daughter safe during your stay." She looked him up and down. He was not wearing formal armor, just a simple tactical vest over regular clothes. His weapon was holstered but visible. To her, he probably looked too relaxed, too casual for someone protecting a high-ranking diplomat. "I requested someone with formal military credentials," Lisa said. "I have those," Jake replied calmly. 10 years in the Colonial Defense Force, 3 tours on hostile worlds. "I know what I'm doing." Sophie tugged on her mother's sleeve. "Mom, I'm hungry." Lisa's expression softened when she looked at her daughter. "We'll get food soon, sweetie." She turned back to Jake. "Fine, but stay alert. The Valerian negotiations are delicate." "I cannot afford any incidents," Jake nodded. "Understood. Shall we get you both settled in your quarters first?" The walk through the station revealed its true nature. This was not just a human facility. Aliens of dozens of species moved through the corridors. The peaceful Valerians with their blue skin and forearms, the tall Hexori who communicated through color changes, and others Jake had learned to identify during his time here. Sophie pressed close to her mother, uncertain about the strange beings around them. Jake noticed and slowed his pace. "First time on a mixed station?" he asked the girl. She nodded, clutching her bear tighter. "It's a lot to take in," Jake said, "but most of these folks are friendly. See those blue ones over there? Valerians. They love music. Sometimes they sing in the plaza." "It's really pretty." Sophie peeked around her mother's leg to look. "Really? Really? Maybe we can go listen sometime if your mom's not too busy." Lisa glanced at him, surprised by his gentle tone. She had expected a rigid soldier, not someone who would think to comfort a nervous child. They reached the diplomatic quarters without incident. The rooms were spacious, designed to accommodate various species. Lisa immediately began unpacking while Sophie explored every corner with growing excitement. "I'll be right outside if you need anything," Jake said. "You're scheduled to meet the Valerian ambassador in 3 hours." "We'll be ready," Lisa assured him. The next 2 days passed smoothly. Lisa attended her meetings while Jake escorted her through the station. Sophie stayed in their quarters with a station-provided caretaker, though she clearly did not enjoy being left behind. On the 3rd day, Lisa decided to take a break from negotiations. "Sophie's been cooped up too long," she told Jake. "I want to take her to the marketplace. Let her see more of the station." Jake hesitated. "The marketplace can be unpredictable. Lots of species mixing together. Sometimes tensions run high." "Are you saying it's not safe?" Lisa challenged. "I'm saying we should be cautious. We'll be fine. I didn't come all this way to keep my daughter locked in a room." Jake knew better than to argue with a determined mother. "Then we go together and you both stay close to me." The marketplace was a riot of colors and sounds and smells. Vendors from a dozen worlds sold their goods. Valerian silk hung next to Hexori crystal formations. The air filled with voices speaking languages both human and alien. Sophie's nervousness faded quickly, replaced by wonder. "Look, Mom," she said, pointing at everything that caught her eye. Lisa smiled, the stress of negotiations falling away as she watched her daughter's joy. Jake stayed 3 steps behind them, his eyes constantly moving. He noted exits, checked faces in the crowd, watched for anything unusual. That was when he saw them. 3 Kreth warriors pushing through the crowd. The Kreth were big, easily 7 feet tall, with thick-scaled skin and powerful limbs. They were known across the sector for their aggression. Their culture valued strength above all else. They viewed most other species as weak. The Kreth were staring at Lisa and Sophie. Jake moved closer to his clients. We should head back, he said quietly. Why? We just got here, Lisa protested. Kreth, 3 of them. They're watching you. Lisa's diplomatic training kicked in. She did not look toward the aliens. Are they a threat? Could be. They don't like humans much. Think we're soft. Before Lisa could respond, Sophie darted toward a vendor selling what looked like stuffed animals. She did not see the Kreth warrior step into her path. The massive alien looked down at the small human child and growled something in his language. Sophie froze, terrified. Jake was already moving. He crossed the distance in seconds and placed himself between Sophie and the Kreth. Easy there, he said, keeping his voice calm. She's just a kid. Didn't mean any harm. The Kreth warrior's eyes narrowed. In broken human language, he said, humans, weak. Children should not roam free. Should be in cages. Nobody's getting caged, Jake replied. He reached back and gently pushed Sophie toward her mother. Lisa, take her now. Lisa grabbed her daughter and pulled her back. The marketplace had gone quiet. Other beings moved away, sensing trouble. The lead Kreth warrior stepped forward, using his size to intimidate. You challenge Kreth? Small human. I'm not challenging anyone, Jake said. We're just leaving. No, you stay. We teach you lesson about respect. The warrior's clawed hand shot out toward Jake's throat. Jake ducked under it and backed up, creating distance. The other 2 Kreth warriors moved to flank him. Station security was nowhere in sight. This section of the marketplace was deep in the commercial zone, far from regular patrols. Last chance, Jake said. Walk away. Nobody has to get hurt. The Kreth warriors laughed. It was a harsh barking sound. Hurt? We crush you, weak human. They attacked together. Jake dodged the first strike, using his smaller size to stay mobile. His hand went to his holstered weapon, but one of the Kreth slammed into him before he could draw. The impact sent him stumbling back. Claws raked across his vest, shredding the fabric but not reaching skin. Run! Jake shouted at Lisa. Get Sophie out of here! But Lisa stood frozen, holding her terrified daughter. She could not move. Could not think. All her diplomatic training meant nothing in the face of raw violence. Jake managed to pull his weapon, but the lead Kreth knocked it from his hand. The alien grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Jake's vision started to darken. He clawed at the warrior's arm, but the scales were too thick. Then Sophie screamed. Let him go. The small girl had broken free from her mother and was running toward them. The second Kreth warrior, seeing easy prey, raised his weapon. It was an energy projector, lethal at close range. The weapon charged with a high-pitched whine. Time seemed to slow. Jake saw the weapon, saw Sophie running forward, saw the Kreth warrior's finger tighten on the trigger. He drove his knee up into the lead warrior's stomach. The grip on his throat loosened just enough. Jake twisted and dropped, hitting the ground hard. The energy blast meant for Sophie's small body hit him instead. Pain exploded across his chest and shoulder. The smell of burning flesh filled the air, but Jake was already moving. Even burned, even injured, he was moving. He tackled Sophie, covering her body with his own as more energy blasts hit him in the back. Each impact felt like being struck by lightning. His muscles spasmed. His nervous system screamed. Lisa finally found her voice. She shouted for help, her diplomat's training returning. Station alarms began to wail. Security would arrive soon, but soon might be too late. The Kreth warriors, realizing they had created an incident, tried to finish what they started. The lead warrior raised his weapon for a killing shot, but Jake rolled, pulling a small blade from his boot. He threw it with practiced accuracy. The blade lodged in the warrior's weapon hand. The alien howled and dropped his gun. Station security burst into the marketplace. Armed guards of multiple species flooded in, weapons drawn. The Kreth warriors backed away, recognizing they were outnumbered. They snarled threats but retreated into the crowd. Jake collapsed, his body finally giving out. The burns covered his chest, shoulder, and back. His breathing came in ragged gasps. Sophie crawled out from under him, tears streaming down her face. Don't die, she sobbed. Please don't die. Lisa dropped to her knees beside them. She pressed her hands against Jake's wounds, trying to stop bleeding she could not see. Medical teams were rushing over. Alien doctors with equipment meant for multiple species. Jake looked up at Sophie's terrified face. He managed a weak smile. It's okay, kiddo, he whispered. You're safe. That's what matters. Then his eyes closed, and the world went dark. Lisa held her daughter as the medical team loaded Jake onto a stretcher. Sophie clung to her mother and cried, Around them, aliens whispered in. The medical bay of Station Meridian was designed to treat dozens of different species. The doctors here had seen injuries from every corner of known space. But even they were surprised when Jake Morrison survived the first night. The energy burns that covered his body should have killed him. Most species would have gone into fatal shock from the pain alone. Dr. Velix, a Valerian physician with decades of experience, studied the human's vital signs with fascination. "His pain tolerance is remarkable," she said to her assistant. "The burns penetrated deep into muscle tissue. He should be unconscious, yet his brain activity suggests he's aware." The assistant, a young Hexori intern, watched the monitors with wide eyes. "Is this normal for humans?" "I don't know," Velix admitted. "I've treated humans before, but never with injuries this severe. Their species has a reputation for resilience, but I thought it was exaggerated. Perhaps it is not." In the recovery room, Jake drifted in and out of consciousness. The pain medication helped, but nothing could completely block the burning sensation that covered his torso. Every breath hurt. Every small movement sent fresh waves of agony through his body. But he was alive. Sophie was safe. That was enough. Lisa came to visit on the second day. She stood in the doorway for a long moment, just looking at him. Bandages covered most of his upper body. Monitoring equipment beeped steadily. He looked smaller somehow, lying in the hospital bed. Less like the confident security contractor and more like someone vulnerable. She finally walked in and sat in the chair beside his bed. Jake's eyes opened slowly. It took him a moment to focus on her face. "How's Sophie?" he asked. His voice was rough, damaged by smoke inhalation. Lisa felt something twist in her chest. He had nearly died, and his first words were about her daughter. "She's fine. Thanks to you." "Good." Jake closed his eyes again, exhausted from just those few words. "Why did you do it?" Lisa asked quietly. "You could have let security handle it. You could have just protected yourself." Jake was quiet for so long she thought he had fallen asleep. Then he spoke. "I had a daughter once, about Sophie's age. Colony raid 5 years ago. I was off-world on deployment. By the time I got back and we trailed off, the silence said everything." Lisa's hand moved without thinking. She placed it gently on his arm, careful to avoid the bandages. "I'm so sorry. When I saw that weapon pointed at Sophie, I just reacted. Couldn't let it happen again, even if I could stop it this time." They sat in silence for a while. Lisa did not trust herself to speak. She had judged this man, thought him too casual, too relaxed, but he carried his own pain, his own losses, and he had still thrown himself into danger to save a child he barely knew. The door burst open and Sophie ran in, her caretaker rushing behind her. "I'm sorry, Commander Bennett," the woman said. "She got away from me." But Sophie was already at Jake's bedside, standing on her toes to see him better. "You're awake!" she said, her face bright with relief. Jake managed a small smile. "Hey, kiddo. Told you I'd be okay." "You promised," Sophie said seriously. "You said you'd take me to hear the Valerian sing. Did I?" Jake tried to remember the conversation from before the attack. It felt like a lifetime ago. "Yes? And you have to keep promises." Lisa pulled her daughter back gently. "Sophie, let him rest. We can come back later. Can I visit tomorrow?" Sophie asked Jake. "Sure. If your mom says it's okay." Lisa nodded. "We'll come back tomorrow." As they left, Dr. Velix entered. She checked Jake's monitors and made notes on her data pad. "You heal fast for any species," she observed. "The burns are already beginning to regenerate." "Very impressive." "Doesn't feel impressive," Jake muttered. "I imagine not. But you should know, word of your actions has spread through the station. Many species are talking about the human who took multiple energy blasts to protect a child. You've made quite an impression." Jake did not care about impressions. He just wanted to heal enough to get back to work. But his body had other plans. The recovery was slow and painful. Velix explained that energy burns damaged tissue at the cellular level. It would take weeks, maybe months, for full healing. Sophie came every day, just as she promised. She brought drawings she made of the station, pictures of the Valerians singing in the plaza, sketches of the marketplace before the attack. She talked about everything and nothing, filling the quiet room with her voice. Jake found himself looking forward to her visits. The girl reminded him of his own daughter. The same curiosity, the same fearless questions. It hurt to remember, but it also helped. Like he was being given a second chance he did not deserve. Lisa came with Sophie at first, keeping a respectful distance, but gradually she began to stay longer. She would sit and read while Sophie drew pictures. Sometimes she would ask Jake about his past, about his military service, about the worlds he had seen. Jake told her about frozen planets where the wind could cut through armor, about desert worlds where water was worth more than gold, about the colonies on the edge of explored space where families tried to build new lives. He talked about the friends he had lost, the battles he had fought, the mistakes he had made. In return, Lisa told him about her work, about the delicate balance of keeping peace between species that had been enemies for generations, about the challenges of being a single mother while trying to negotiate treaties that could save lives, about Sophie's father, who had died in a transport accident when the girl was just a baby. She doesn't remember him, Lisa said one day. Sometimes I feel guilty about that. Like I should talk about him more, keep his memory alive. But Sophie was so young when he died. She doesn't have those memories to hold on to. You keep him alive just by raising her, Jake said. By being a good mother. That's what matters. Lisa looked at him with an expression he could not quite read. You're good with her. With Sophie, I mean. She's attached to you already. Kids are easy. They don't judge. They just see people for who they are. And who are you, Jake Morrison? He considered the question. Just a guy trying to do right when he can. That's all any of us can do, right? The weeks passed slowly. Jake's body healed, but the process was frustrating. He was used to being active, to moving and working. Being confined to a hospital bed made him restless. Velix had to warn him several times not to push too hard, or he would damage the healing tissue. But the station had not forgotten what happened. Aliens would stop by the medical bay, asking to see the human who had taken the hits. Some brought gifts. Others just wanted to express respect. Jake found the attention uncomfortable. He had just done what needed to be done. Nothing more. A group of Valerians came one day while Sophie was visiting. They sang for Jake, their four voices blending in harmonies no human throat could produce. Sophie watched with wide eyes, enchanted by the music. When they finished, she clapped enthusiastically. That was beautiful, she said. The lead Valerian bowed to her. We sing to honor the brave one who protected the young. This is our way. After they left, Sophie turned to Jake. You're famous now. I'm not famous, Jake protested. Yes, you are. Everyone knows about you. Lisa, who had been listening from the doorway, stepped into the room. She's right. The story of what you did has spread beyond this station. I've heard from other diplomats. Even some of the Kreth clans have taken notice. Jake frowned. What does that mean? It means you've changed how other species see humans. We've always been viewed as physically weak, good at technology and diplomacy, but not fighters. You challenge that perception? I'm just one guy. One guy can make a difference, Lisa said. One guy did make a difference. On his fourth week in the medical bay, Velix finally cleared Jake for limited movement. He could walk short distances, though the burn still pulled painfully when he moved. Physical therapy would take months, she warned. He would need to be patient. Jake was not good at being patient. But he nodded and agreed to follow her instructions. He wanted to heal, wanted to get back to normal, but a part of him wondered what normal would look like now. His contract with the security company was up. They had sent word that they would extend it if he wanted, but there was no pressure. He could take another assignment or move on. For the first time in 2 years, Jake did not know what he wanted to do. Sophie had other ideas. On the day Jake was cleared to leave the medical bay, she appeared with a drawing. It showed 3 figures holding hands, a tall man, a woman, and a small girl. Above them, she had written in careful letters, "My family." That's you, she said, pointing to the tall figure. And that's Mom, and that's me. We're family now. Jake looked at Lisa, uncertain how to respond. Lisa looked back at him with an expression that mixed hope and uncertainty. Sophie, Lisa said gently, that's not exactly how family works. Why not? Sophie challenged. Jake saved me. He visits every day. He tells good stories. That's what family does. Your daughter makes a good argument, Jake said with a slight smile. Lisa sat down, suddenly serious. Jake, I need to tell you something. I've been doing research. The Valerians have a law about life debts. When someone saves a family member's life, especially a child's life, there's a provision, a binding claim. The family can formally claim the protector as their own. Jake blinked. What does that mean exactly? It means you would be legally bound to our household. Under Valerian. Jake spent 3 days thinking about Lisa's offer. 3 days of walking the station corridors, testing his healing body and trying to figure out what he wanted. The burn still pulled when he moved too fast, but the pain was manageable now. His body was recovering. His mind was another matter. He sat in a small cafe on the observation deck staring out at the stars. A Valerian server brought him coffee, the universal drink that even aliens had learned to make for humans. The server lingered for a moment. "You are the one who saved the child," the Valerian said. It was not a question. "I did what anyone would do," Jake replied automatically. "No, not anyone. Many would have run. You stayed. You took the pain meant for her. This is honorable." The Valerian placed a hand over its chest in a gesture of respect before walking away. Jake sipped his coffee and thought about honor, about duty, about the fact that he had not felt part of anything larger than himself in 5 years, not since he lost his family. He had been drifting, taking assignments that meant nothing, protecting people he did not care about. Just going through the motions of being alive. Sophie had changed that. In 4 weeks, that little girl had somehow gotten past all his defenses. Her daily visits, her drawings, her absolute conviction that he was a good person. She made him want to be the person she thought he was, and Lisa. Jake was not sure what to make of Lisa. She was strong, confident, used to getting what she wanted through negotiation and careful planning. But when she looked at him, he saw something vulnerable beneath that diplomatic surface. She was lonely too, raising a daughter alone while trying to keep peace between alien species, never letting anyone get close because she had to be strong all the time. Maybe they were both just broken people looking for something to fill the empty spaces. His communicator buzzed. A message from Lisa asking him to meet her in the diplomatic wing. Jake finished his coffee and headed that way, his decision made. He found Lisa in a conference room, data pads spread across the table. She looked up when he entered, trying to read his expression. Sophie was there too, sitting in a chair that was too big for her, swinging her legs. "Jake!" Sophie jumped down and ran to him. She hugged his legs, careful to avoid his injured side. "Did you decide? Are you going to stay?" "Sophie, let him breathe," Lisa said, but her eyes held the same question. Jake knelt down so he was at Sophie's eye level. "What if I said yes? What if I stayed?" Sophie's face lit up. "Really? You mean it?" "Yeah, kiddo. I mean it." Sophie threw her arms around his neck. Jake hugged her back, feeling something in his chest that he had thought was dead. Hope, purpose, connection. Lisa stood and walked over to them. "You're sure about this? Once I invoke the claim, it's legally binding. You would be part of this family, Jake. All the good and bad that comes with that." Jake straightened up, meeting her eyes. "I'm sure. I've been alone long enough. Time to be part of something again." Lisa nodded, her expression unreadable, but her hand reached out and squeezed his arm briefly. "Then we should make it official. The station council meets in 2 hours. We need to present the claim formally." The council chamber was designed to accommodate representatives from multiple species. The circular room had seating at various heights and configurations. The council consisted of 5 members, each from a different species that held permanent stations on Meridian. A Valerian, a Hexori, a Thalan, a human administrator, and surprisingly a Kreth. Lisa stood in the center of the chamber, with Jake and Sophie on either side of her. She wore her formal diplomatic uniform. Jake had borrowed a clean suit, though it did not fit quite right. Sophie held his hand tightly. The human administrator, an older woman named Kate Preston, spoke first. "Commander Bennett, you've requested this emergency session to invoke a life debt claim under Valerian law. This is highly unusual, but legal," Lisa replied confidently. "Article 7 of the Valerian Cultural Protection Act states that any family whose member is saved from certain death may claim the protector as part of their household. This law applies on stations operating under Valerian protocols." The Valerian council member, Elder Thraxus, nodded his four-armed body. "This is correct. The law is ancient, from a time when our species lived in tribal units. A protector was the most valuable member of any tribe. Those who saved lives were honored by being brought into the family permanently." "This is a human matter," the Kreth representative growled. "Why invoke Valerian law?" "Because this station operates under joint species governance," Lisa answered. And because the life debt is real. Jake Morrison saved my daughter from Kreth energy weapons. He took wounds that should have killed him. Under Valerian law, I have the right to claim him. The Kreth stood, his massive form towering over the chamber. The warriors who attacked were operating outside clan authority. They have been punished. But this claim, it seems more like human emotion than legal necessity. Lisa's eyes flashed. Are you questioning my right to invoke this law? I question your motives. Jake stepped forward. My motives are simple. I'm accepting the claim because I choose to. Nobody's forcing anything. The Kreth looked at him with something that might have been respect. You are the one who fought. Who took the hits. The stories have spread. They say you did not stop even when your body should have failed. I protected a child. That's all? That is not all. You showed strength, endurance. These are valued among my people. The Kreth sat back down. If the human warrior accepts the claim, I do not oppose it. The other council members conferred briefly. Elder Thraxus spoke for all of them. The claim is valid under our laws. However, we must ensure all parties understand the implications. Jake Morrison, do you accept being bound to the Bennett family? Do you understand this creates legal obligations? Jake looked at Sophie, who was watching him with complete trust. Then at Lisa, who was trying to hide her nervousness. I understand. And I accept. Then let it be recorded, Thraxus said formally.
Jake Morrison is hereby claimed by the Bennett family under Valerian life debt law.
He is recognized as a member of their household with all rights and responsibilities. Sophie cheered. Lisa let out a breath she had been holding. Jake felt strange. Lighter somehow. Like a weight he had been carrying for 5 years had suddenly lifted. As they left the council chamber, Kate Preston caught up with them. That was quite a move, Commander Bennett. I hope you know what you're doing. So do I, Lisa admitted quietly. The news spread through the station quickly. By evening, everyone knew about the claim. The reactions were mixed. Some thought it was romantic. Others thought it was just a legal maneuver to keep good security. The aliens found it fascinating. To them, it was an example of human pack bonding, something they had heard about but rarely witnessed. Jake moved his few belongings into the Bennett family quarters that night. Sophie insisted he take the room next to hers. Lisa showed him where everything was, her diplomatic professionalism barely masking her nervousness. This is strange for both of us, she said as they stood in the common area. I want you to know I didn't do this to trap you or control you. I did it because I couldn't let you leave. Sophie needs you. And maybe I need you too. It's not a trap if I walked in willingly, Jake replied. I know what I signed up for, Lisa. You don't have to explain yourself. Then what do we do now? How does this work? We figure it out as we go. That's what families do, right? Lisa smiled, some of the tension leaving her shoulders. I suppose so. The next 2 weeks settled into a routine. Lisa continued her diplomatic negotiations with the Valerians. Jake, once cleared for full duty by Dr. Velix, resumed security work. But now he came home to Sophie's excited stories about her day, to shared meals in the family quarters, to the strange comfort of not being alone. Sophie thrived with Jake around. She was braver, more confident. She still had nightmares sometimes about the attack, but Jake was there to sit with her until she fell back asleep. Lisa watched their bond grow and felt her own walls slowly crumbling. One evening, after Sophie had gone to bed, Lisa and Jake sat together in the common area. She was reviewing negotiation notes. He was checking security reports. It was domestic and ordinary, and neither of them knew quite what to make of it. Jake, Lisa said suddenly, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you regret accepting the claim? Be honest. Jake set down his datapad and looked at her, really looked at her, at the worry in her eyes, at the way she held herself like she was waiting for disappointment. No, I don't regret it. This is the first time in 5 years I've felt like I belong somewhere. Because of you and Sophie. We're not a normal family. What's normal? We're figuring things out. That's what matters, Lisa nodded, blinking back unexpected emotion. Thank you. For saving her. For staying. For being here. Thank you for giving me a reason to. They sat in comfortable silence after that. Outside the viewport, stars drifted past. The station hummed with the life of dozens of species. And in this small corner of space, 2 broken people and 1 little girl were becoming something neither adult had expected. A family, but their peace would not last long. 3 days later, an alert came through. A Kreth diplomatic vessel had docked at the station. The delegation was requesting a formal meeting. Their stated purpose was to... The Kreth delegation arrived with ceremony and barely contained aggression. 5 warriors in traditional armor marched through the station corridors. Other species moved quickly out of their path. The lead warrior, who introduced himself as war leader Drakon, stood nearly 8 feet tall. His scales were marked with scars that spoke of countless battles. Lisa met them in a formal conference room, Jake at her side. She had left Sophie with Kate Preston, not wanting her daughter anywhere near this meeting. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. "Commander Bennett," Drakon said, his voice a deep rumble. "We come to address a matter of honor." "War Leader Drakon," Lisa replied formally. "I am prepared to discuss the incident in the marketplace. The warriors who attacked my daughter and security contractor were acting aggressively. Our response was defensive." Drakon's eyes narrowed. "Your human wounded 4 Kreth warriors. One may never fight again. This is not a small matter." "They attacked first," Jake said flatly, "and they were threatening a child. A warrior does not concern himself with the age of his opponents. Combat is combat." Lisa felt her diplomatic training engage. "Under station law, attacking civilians is prohibited. Your warriors violated that law. We defended ourselves within our legal rights." "Human law," Drakon spat. "Not Kreth law. Among my people, this requires blood payment." "What are you asking for?" Lisa demanded. Drakon pointed at Jake. "Him. 3 fights. 1 against 1. If he survives all 3, honor is satisfied. If he falls, the debt is paid." Jake stepped forward. "And if I refuse? Then the Bennett family is marked as cowards. You will be hunted across every world where Kreth have presence. Your daughter, your claimed mate, all will know no peace." Lisa's face went pale. "That's murder. The station authorities will never allow it. It is trial by combat, allowed under interspecies treaty when honor demands it. Your authorities cannot interfere." Drakon smiled, showing sharp teeth. "We will even allow your human time to prepare. 7 days. Then the challenge begins." Before Lisa could respond, Drakon and his warriors left. The door closed behind them with a heavy thud. Lisa immediately turned to Jake. "We have to find a way out of this." "There might not be one," Jake said quietly. "The Kreth take honor seriously. If I don't fight, they'll make good on their threats. You can't fight 3 Kreth warriors. Jake, you're still healing. They're bigger, stronger, and they've trained their entire lives for combat." "I know, but what choice do I have?" Lisa spent the next 6 hours going through every legal document she could find. Every treaty, every provision. Jake watched her work herself into exhaustion, looking for a loophole that did not exist. Finally, he gently took the data pad from her hands. "Lisa, stop. You're not going to find an answer in the paperwork. There has to be something, some way to protect you. I appreciate that. But I knew what I was getting into when I saved Sophie. When I accepted your claim, I'm not going to let these aliens threaten my family." "Your family," Lisa repeated softly. "When did you start thinking of us that way?" "Probably from the moment that little girl brought me her drawings in the hospital. Definitely when you claimed me in front of the council. This is real to me, Lisa. All of it." She looked up at him, tears threatening. "Then let me help you. Let me find a way to keep you alive. You want to help? Then help me train. I've got 7 days to remember everything I learned in the military. Everything about fighting opponents bigger and stronger than me." Lisa nodded. "And I'll keep looking for legal options, just in case." The next 7 days were brutal. Jake trained in the station's combat facilities. He worked with weights to rebuild strength, practiced hand-to-hand combat with the few humans on station who had military experience, studied recordings of Kreth fighting styles. Sophie did not understand why Jake was training so hard. Lisa tried to explain in terms a child could grasp. "Jake has to do a very difficult job. He needs to be ready. Is it dangerous?" Sophie asked. Lisa could not lie to her daughter. "Yes, it's dangerous. Then I'll help him be brave." Sophie made more drawings. Pictures of Jake as a superhero, as a warrior, as someone strong and unbeatable. She gave them to him every evening. Jake taped them to the wall of his room. Every picture was a reminder of why he was doing this. On the 4th day, Elder Thraxus visited Lisa's quarters. The Valerian looked troubled. "Commander Bennett, I have been researching the situation. There is something you should know about the life debt claim you invoked." "What is it?" Lisa asked. The claim does not just make Jake part of your family. It creates a bond recognized across multiple species cultures, including the Kreth. To them, you are now mated pairs. Partners who hunt together. Mated pairs? We're not together that way. Thraxus made a gesture that might have been a shrug. The Kreth do not distinguish between romantic bonds and chosen battle bonds. To them, you claim Jake as your mate, which means under Kreth law you have the right to fight beside him. Lisa's mind raced. I could join the fight? Yes, but Commander, you are not a warrior. This would be extremely dangerous. More dangerous than letting Jake face 3 Kreth alone. Thraxus had no answer for that. Lisa spent the rest of the day considering her options. She was a diplomat, not a soldier. But she had gone through basic self-defense training. All human diplomats did. She knew how to use a weapon. How to defend herself. Could she actually fight in a trial by combat? That evening she found Jake in the training room. He was practicing with weighted gloves, his movements sharp despite the lingering pain in his side. She watched him for a moment before speaking. I found something, a provision in Kreth law. I can fight with you. Jake stopped mid-punch. No, absolutely not. It's my right as your claimed family. We're considered mated pairs by their culture. Lisa, I don't care what their culture says. You're not trained for this. I won't let you risk your life. You don't get to let me do anything, Lisa said firmly. This is my choice. My family to protect, but what about Sophie? If something happens to both of us, who takes care of her? That stopped Lisa cold. She had not thought that far ahead. Kate Preston agreed to be her guardian if needed. Sophie will be cared for. Jake walked over to her, his expression serious. Why would you do this? Why risk everything? Because you did the same for my daughter. Because you're part of this family. And because I'll be damned if I let you face this alone. They stared at each other. The training room was quiet except for the hum of station machinery. Finally, Jake nodded. Then we train together. If we're doing this, we do it right. The remaining 3 days were intense. Lisa learned to move in sync with Jake to cover his weak points, to use her smaller size as an advantage. Jake taught her every dirty trick he knew. Every way to fight when you were outmatched. Forget fair fighting, he told her. The Kreth won't fight fair. Neither should we. On the final night before the combat, Sophie could not sleep. She came to Jake's room and climbed into his bed. I'm scared, she admitted. Jake put his arm around her. Me too, kiddo. Will you come back? I'm going to try my hardest. Your mom and I were going to fight for each other. For you. That's what families do. Sophie was quiet for a moment. Then she said, My dad died in an accident. Mom said it was quick. He didn't suffer. But he still left us alone. Jake's chest tightened. I'm not planning on leaving you, Sophie. But you might. That's what scares me. Everyone I love might leave. He did not have easy words for that fear. It was real and valid, so he just held her and let her cry. Lisa found them like that an hour later. She sat on the edge of the bed and joined the embrace. The 3 of them holding each other in the darkness. The day of the combat arrived. The Kreth had chosen an arena on the lower levels of the station. It was technically neutral ground, open to spectators from all species. Hundreds came to watch. Word of the human trial by combat had spread throughout the sector. Lisa and Jake stood in the center of the arena. They wore light armor, the most they were allowed. Each carried a short blade and a small shield. Across from them, 3 Kreth warriors waited. Each one was a trained fighter. Each one was larger, stronger, and more experienced than any human. War leader Dracon stood at the edge of the arena. The rules are simple. Fight until one side cannot continue or yields. If the humans survive all 3 challenges, honor is satisfied. If they fall, the debt is paid. Begin. The first Kreth warrior stepped forward. He moved with confidence, knowing he had every physical advantage. Jake and Lisa spread out, forcing him to divide his attention. The warrior chose to attack Jake first, probably seeing him as the greater threat. Jake dodged the first strike, moving with a speed that surprised the Kreth. Lisa came in from the side, her blade finding a gap in the warrior's armor. The cut was shallow, but it drew first blood. The Kreth roared and swung at her. Lisa ducked and rolled away. Jake was already moving, his own blade finding the back of the warrior's knee. The Kreth stumbled. They pressed the advantage, working together like they had practiced. Strike and retreat. Never stay still. Never let the enemy recover. The fight lasted 10 brutal minutes. Jake took a hit to his shoulder that reopened one of his old wounds. Lisa got knocked down and barely rolled away from a killing blow. But they kept fighting, kept moving, kept working together. Jake woke up to the familiar beeping of medical equipment. For a moment, he thought he was back in the hospital after saving Sophie. Same sounds, same antiseptic smell, same pain radiating through his body. Then memory returned. The arena. The 3 fights. Lisa fighting beside him. Lisa, he tried to say, but his throat was too dry. She's right here. Dr. Velix appeared above him, checking monitors. Both of you survived, though I am beginning to think humans are impossible to kill. Your injuries were severe again. Jake turned his head carefully. In the bed next to his, Lisa was sleeping. Bandages covered her arm and torso. Her face was peaceful despite the cuts and bruises. Is she okay? Jake managed to ask. Broken ribs. Deep lacerations. Significant blood loss, but she will recover. As will you, somehow. Your species has remarkable healing abilities. A small sound came from the corner of the room. Sophie was curled up in a chair, her stuffed bear clutched tight. She had fallen asleep waiting. Kate Preston sat next to her, also dozing. How long have they been here? Jake asked. Since you were brought in. 2 days ago. The little one refused to leave. She said she needed to make sure you both came back. 2 days. Jake tried to process that. He remembered the fight. Remembered falling. Remembered Lisa catching him. Everything after was blank. The station is talking about nothing else, Velix continued as she worked. 2 humans defeating 3 Kreth warriors. It should not have been possible. Yet you did it. Together. Over the next week, as Jake and Lisa recovered, the full impact of what they had done became clear. The story spread throughout the sector. Not just the fight itself, but what it represented. Humans working together, humans protecting their own, humans who refused to give up even when they should have been dead. Other species took notice. The peaceful ones saw potential allies. The aggressive ones saw a species that might not be as weak as they thought. The diplomatic implications were significant. Representatives from a dozen species requested meetings with Lisa. They wanted to discuss treaties, trade agreements, security arrangements. The human diplomat who had fought like a warrior was suddenly the most sought-after negotiator in the sector. But Lisa had other priorities. She spent most of her time in the medical bay with Jake, working remotely when she could. Sophie was with them constantly, dividing her attention between both her injured parents. Because that was what Jake was now. Not just claimed family, not just a security contractor. He was Sophie's dad in every way that mattered. And he was something more to Lisa, though neither of them had found the words for it yet. On the 8th day of recovery, they were both cleared to return to their quarters. The walk back felt longer than Jake remembered. His body was healing, but the exhaustion went deeper than just physical. He had pushed himself beyond limits twice now. It would take time to fully recover. Sophie held both their hands as they walked, chattering about everything that had happened while they were unconscious. The Valerians had sung for them again. The Kreth delegation had sent a formal apology. Even some of the more isolated species had expressed interest in meeting the warrior humans. Back in their quarters, Lisa and Jake sat together on the couch, while Sophie went to get her latest drawings. The silence between them was comfortable but heavy with unspoken things. I never thanked you properly, Lisa said finally, for accepting the claim, for fighting beside me, for becoming part of this family. I think we're past thank yous, Jake replied. We've bled together, fought together. That creates bonds stronger than words. Is that what this is? A bond forged in combat? Jake considered the question. It started that way, when I saved Sophie, but it became something more, something I didn't expect. What do you mean? He turned to face her. I lost my family 5 years ago. I thought that part of my life was over, that I would just drift from job to job until something finally took me out. But then there was Sophie and you, and suddenly I had reasons to live again, to fight, to plan for tomorrow. Lisa's eyes were bright with emotion. I was alone too, raising Sophie by myself, focusing on work because it was easier than dealing with the loss. I told myself we were fine, that we didn't need anyone else. But I was wrong. Sophie came back with her drawings, interrupting the moment. She showed them picture after picture. Jake and Lisa fighting side by side, the 3 of them holding hands. A house somewhere with a garden. Dreams of a child who wanted her family to stay together. Can we go somewhere? Sophie asked. Not a station. A real planet with grass and trees? Maybe someday, Lisa said. When my work here is done, when will that be? Lisa and Jake exchanged glances. That was the question. Lisa's assignment on Station Meridian was supposed to last 6 months. 3 of those months were already gone. Eventually, she would be reassigned. And then what? Would this family they had built survive distance, new assignments, the demands of their separate lives? Over the following weeks, life developed a new rhythm. Lisa continued her diplomatic work, now with increased respect from other species. Jake resumed security duties, though his reputation meant he was offered better positions. Multiple companies wanted to hire the human who had defeated 3 Kreth warriors, but every evening they came home to each other. Sophie's homework spread across the table while Lisa reviewed treaties and Jake checked security reports. Shared meals, shared conversations, shared lives. It felt normal. Domestic, like the family they were pretending to be had become real. One night after Sophie was asleep, Lisa found Jake on the observation deck. He was staring out at the stars like he often did. She sat beside him without speaking. They had gotten good at comfortable silence. I got my new assignment orders, Lisa said eventually. Jake felt his stomach drop. Where? Earth. They want me to work at diplomatic headquarters. Advise on alien relations. Use what I learned here to help train other diplomats. That's a good opportunity. It's also far from the frontier. From the interesting work. From the life we've built here. When do you leave? 2 months. But Jake, I don't have to accept it. I could request an extension here. Or ask for a different assignment. Don't do that because of me, Jake said. Your career matters. So does my family. Lisa turned to face him. I'm not sacrificing what we have just for career advancement. You and Sophie, you're more important. Jake felt something break open in his chest, something he had been holding back since the moment he accepted her claim. Lisa, I need to tell you something. What is it? When I accepted your claim, I thought I was just giving Sophie a father figure. A protector. I didn't expect to fall in love with you. The words hung in the air between them. Lisa stared at him, her expression unreadable. I know it complicates things, Jake continued. I know we started this as a legal arrangement. But fighting beside you, living with you, being part of your life, I can't pretend it's just duty anymore. I love you. And if you take that Earth assignment, I'll follow you, if you want me to. Lisa was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached out and took his hand. Do you know when I knew? When I realized this was more than just gratitude or convenience? When you got back up in that arena? You were hurt, exhausted, you had every reason to stay down, but you got up anyway because I needed you. That was the moment I understood. This wasn't about legal claims or life debts. This was about love. She leaned in and kissed him. It was gentle and certain and full of promise. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. So we go to Earth together, Jake said. As a family? As a family, Lisa agreed. The next 2 months passed quickly. Lisa tied up her diplomatic work on the station. Jake resigned from his security position and started looking at opportunities on Earth. Sophie was excited about the move, especially when they told her they would have a house with a yard. On their last day on Station Meridian, a crowd gathered to see them off. Aliens from dozens of species came to say goodbye. The Valerians sang. The Kreth warriors showed respect with formal salutes. Even Elder Thraxus came personally. You have done something remarkable here, the Valerian elder told them. You have changed how species view humanity. Your courage and loyalty have created new opportunities for your people. This will not be forgotten. War Leader Dracon approached last. The massive Kreth warrior looked at Jake and Lisa with something that might have been approval. You fought with honor. You protected your family. This is the way of warriors. The Kreth will remember the humans who refused to yield. He placed his hand over his chest in salute. Jake returned the gesture. They had been enemies once. Now they were something else. Not friends exactly, but connected by shared combat and mutual respect. The transport ship that would take them to Earth was newer and more comfortable than the one that had brought Lisa to the station months ago. They settled into their cabin. Sophie immediately claimed the window seat, pressing her face against the viewport to watch the station shrink away. Goodbye, Station Meridian, she said. Thank you for giving me a dad. Jake sat beside her, his arm around her shoulders. Lisa took the seat on his other side, her hand finding his. They sat like that as the ship jumped to faster-than-light travel. A family heading toward a new beginning. 6 months later, they had settled into life on Earth. A small house in a quiet neighborhood. A yard where Sophie could play. Normal schools and normal routines.